Hey, what's up everybody? This is Suburbs501 and today I want to go over the lowest recoil build for the AK-103 in patch 12.9 of Escape from Tarkov. Now before we get into the video, 99% of you that watch my videos aren't subscribed, so make sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with all my Escape from Tarkov videos. And like with all of my builds, there will be a link in the description to the Tarkov Gunsmith website where you can go and easily see all the parts you need for this build and see updated prices for all those parts on the flea market. And the AK-103 is pretty much the best of the best when it comes to fully automatic 7.62 weapons. This is most likely what you're going to see if someone is using a fully kitted meta weapon using the 7.62 by 3.9 rounds. So first we have the Bastion dust cover for AK, which is where our sight goes on. And then for the sight, the only things you have to determine when choosing a sight is what range you're going to be using the weapon at, what sights you like to use, and how much the sight is going to affect the ergo of the weapon. And this is one of those weapons that you can use at pretty decent ranges. It has a very strong bullet, especially if you're using BP, and has a decent muzzle velocity, so you can use this as more of a long range sniper type of weapon. Then we have the Zenit RP1 charge handle, which just gives us an additional ergo. For the stock, we're going to have the AK-74/AK-100 PT lock, and then on that we're going to have the Zenit PT3 stock. Now you have some options for the pistol grip that are all pretty much the same thing. You have the Zenit RK3, you have the Scorpius, and then you have the US Palm pistol grip, and all of these are going to give the same amount of stats. Technically the US Palm pistol grip is the best because it is lighter than both of the other ones. For weight, it goes the US Palm pistol grip is the lightest, then the Scorpius, then the RK3, but the weight is not a massive difference. Just get the cheapest out of the three of these. You're not going to notice that big of a difference going from the RK3, which is the heaviest, and the US Palm, which is the lightest. Now for magazines, this is one of the weapons that you can use the bigger drum mags and still have a very good ergo. Now this is the lowest recoil version of this build, and with the 50 rounder on and the lowest recoil version of the build, you still get 51 ergo, which is very usable and actually a pretty good amount of ergo for this weapon, and that includes the 50 rounders on it. And with a weapon with 600 RPM, a 50 rounder is even stronger because you're not going to be shredding through ammo like with weapons that have 800 plus RPM, and then just having a 50 rounder, you have to worry much less about running out of ammo or worry much less about not having enough ammo to finish off a player or finish off a team. So with that being said, I would always recommend using the 50 rounders. You have enough ergo to spare even with not caring about ergo at all while building the weapon. So I'd always recommend using these 50 rounders, especially if you're going to be using a high tier build of this weapon. Then for the grip, it's going to be on the Victor CAS-V Keymod 6-inch guide. Now there are two 6-inch guides, the Strike Industries and the CAS-V. They do the exact same thing, so just get whichever one is cheaper. Then we're going to be using the Zenit RK2. Now usually I would go over how the RK1 and the Shift Tactical Grip both only give slightly higher recoils for a much higher ergo, but with the lowest recoil version of this build, you're still getting that 51 ergo, which is completely usable, and that's with the 50 rounder already on it. This build is one of the rare weapons where having the lowest recoil version of this build actually makes for a very balanced build. This still has 51 ergo, like I said, with the mag on, which is completely usable. It's a pretty good ergo for a fully built weapon, and you're still getting the lowest recoil possible. So I would recommend using the Zenit RK2 with this build. And then for the tactical device, it's going to be on a Victor CAS-V 2-inch guide, and I'm going to be using the D-Ball tactical flashlight. I would always recommend using this tactical device on any weapon it can go on. It has an IR flashlight and a normal flashlight along with the laser pointer, so it gives you pretty much everything, and having that normal flashlight with the IR flashlight is definitely a big buff, especially when you're going on some of the darker maps or some of the darker parts of some of the maps. And then for the muzzle brake, we're going to be having the JMac RRD 4C muzzle brake. Now this is by far the best muzzle brake, and one of the big downsides of this weapon in general is it doesn't have a good silencer. The best would essentially be the Hexagon DTKP, but this reduces ergo by 15 and increases recoil by 9 vertical recoil compared to this muzzle brake. So in my opinion, there's not really a legitimate option to silence this weapon. I would always be taking the thing loud because of how bad the stats are when silenced. Then we're going to be having the AK-74 gas tube, which is just what comes on it. You don't need to change it. Then we have the Voltor CMRD key mod for the AK, and this is probably going to be usually the most expensive part of this build, even when you're buying it from a vendor. That is the entirety of the build, and this is an extremely well statted weapon, especially considering the bullets you get to use with this thing. Using BP on this thing can shred pretty much any armor in the game, and the weapon just has a really good balance of low recoil and good ergo while also having a drum mag. And the caliber that this weapon is using is definitely one of the calibers in the game that I haven't used a lot this wipe, but having this weapon built, I'll probably be using this weapon quite a bit more because it's just such a well statted weapon with having the BP rounds that are incredibly strong, better than most of the rounds used by a lot of the meta weapons in the game. And like I said, there will be a link in the description to the Tarkov Gunsmith website where you can go and easily see all the parts you need for this build and see updated prices for all those parts on the flea market. So subscribe if you want to see more Escape from Tarkov videos, leave a like if you liked the video, leave a comment down below what you guys think about this build, and thanks for watching.
О, кеп! Иди сюда, сюда. Поехали! Да вот он! О, вижу! Чужие прямо! Чушка! Это не наша, блядь! Ебать! В сторону! Гранат! Принял. Пустовато здесь. Это не наша, блядь!
Contact.